Okay, my friends, we are going to head on into the season of wood. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Maybe. There we go. The season of wood begins on March 21st. It is the season of spring. It is a time in which we signify birth, new life, new creation, growth. And so if we think about the season of spring, it's when the plant life is resurfacing after a long winter. Bears are coming out of hibernation. New animals are being born. It's the time of calving or foaling with some of the livestock. We often see a lot of puppies during this time of year, but it's also a time of personal growth and development, a time that we really should try to tap into our creativity and new ideas and begin implementing those. Wood is the child of water, the mother of fire, and is controlled by metal. So go back to that chart. Remember that chart we have, and you can see how those things interact. It is an expression of vision, direction, channeling new energy towards something specific, something new, something focused. And again, it's an expression of being young, being newly born, reborn, rebirth, whatever those things may be. The wood element is said to flare when our sense of self is compromised, when we are being overlooked or disregarded or feeling like someone is deliberately out to thwart us. What a tricky word, thwarted. It will flare when we need to make change. We need to grow and evolve and again, get creative, but we don't want to. We sort of get stuck and want to hold on to those things. When we can't put our ideas into action, when we don't feel like we have the power to do the things that need to be done, or that they're beyond or out of our control. And we also see a flare up when these things for us don't seem to work out as planned. So remember, I'll say to you here, we each have basically a predominant element, right? One that is sort of the core of who we are. Our animals do too. So we have sort of one that we align to the most. That is not to say that we don't ebb and flow into other elements at different times of certain things that are happening to us, but also as the seasons around us start to take shape, right? We also know, remember this, super important, that if our constitution is towards wood, that's where we identify the most, right? And our mother, our fire element, for example, is out of whack, our wood element could subsequently become out of whack, right? Remember, they flow through and around and with each other. So we are influenced, controlled by, if you will, and affected by all of the other elements. So just be aware that you're not just one, you are a function of the seasons, the time of day, and the other elements and their impact around us, okay? We are said to be deficient in the wood element when we perhaps see things like blurred or weak vision, deficiency in our immune response, perhaps have a passive behavior, dry skin, tremors or numbness, This leads me to thinking about Poppy, who sometimes has these idiopathic tremors, and what I need to do about that, right? Low self-esteem, cold hands, cold feet, inability to make decisions. We might see someone paler than normal, restless, dry, brittle, discolored nails. This could happen with your dog as well. Blood pressure is low. Lack of creative desires, perhaps leaning in towards depression behaviors, muscle weakness, unable to come up with new ideas, and again, not really able to execute the ideas that we do come up with. Okay, we are said to be in excess when blood pressure is high, when we're angry, when we anger more quickly, when we get rigid in perhaps even our thoughts or our body, right? Allergies, hyperimmune response, inflammation, gas, constipation, diarrhea, nausea, hiccups, belching, pounding, headaches, pain, itchy or red eyes, lack of energy, shortness of breath. You'll see that some of these, as we start going through them and as you really start making notes of this, some of them have some familiar crossovers. And why is that? We just talked about it. Because of influence from another. So remember, this comes a point where if we are struggling with perhaps an excess of wood, right, we're in an excess, then we might need to go to fire, to those organs, to those components, and work on sedating fire so that she is not sending so much to the next element. Does that make sense? And vice versa. If fire is deficient, yes, we need to work on that, but we might need to work on the grandmother, of wood in that case, or to stimulate fire so that wood receives more of it. So really just start to think about this in terms of how these things flow. They are not independent of the other. All right. Okay. The season, March 21st through June 6th. It is spring. It is the season and climate of wind. Time of day is late night, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. So if you've got a dog waking up or yourself are getting up in the middle of the night to do whatever quirky behavior, even if it's just go to the bathroom, take a step back and say, what is specific to this time of day? What's going on? What else can I piece together with this and figure out what we might need to do about it? Okay, direction is to the east. The organ is the liver, right? So remember, we talk a lot about the liver. And so that comes back to these moodiness, irritability, depression. Remember, we say anger and aggression live in the liver. Right? Whenever somebody's talking about allergies, we talk about the possibility of cleansing the liver. Okay? The yang organ is the gallbladder. Eyes are governed by the wood element. Here we're back to our anger, aggression, irritability, frustration as our emotion. Again, liver controls these things. Vision. So when Howie has his his glaucoma flare up last week, right? This is the second round of this. Eyes, liver, what do I need to be doing to help support him? He has become quite loud and very vocal. He barks a lot now. You could argue that that's because he needs attention, but it certainly is because there is a vision loss and he's trying to say, come get me, I need some help. But we can't discount the fact that it's tied to this, right? That it's tied in how all of this comes together. The color is green, taste is sour, smell is rancid, the tissue is ligaments and tendons. We also see that in perhaps brittle fingernails, toenails, and our private parts, the genitalia. Secretion, tears. Howie's eyes are making less tears, right? That's part of the problem. So while we know he has glaucoma, do we have a liver issue, right? Do we have a potential liver issue? And yes, right? I don't think he has liver disease, but we need to help support all of those things together. All right. So, brief introduction to the element of wood. I will do the others very soon, and then I'm going to start putting the rest of these pieces together for you. One of the key takeaways, and you're going to start hearing me talk about this more often, is don't get locked on this element. Look at the influence around it and what we may need to step back and focus on as a complete discussion, so that we're not just targeting one thing when perhaps we need to be looking around it. Okay, so just FYI, hope this is beneficial, and I will check in with you guys soon.